Motion to come out of executive session.
Move.
Motion made by Councilmember Kadesh, second.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Wetzel. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Kadesh?
Yes.
Councilmember Murphy?
Yes.
Councilmember Rizzuto?
Yes.
Councilmember Wetzel?
Yes.
Council President Nash?
Yes. Will you please join me to the salute to the flag?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have a motion to go open the meeting to public comments?
Motion.
Could I have a motion to open the meeting to public comments?
Motion.
Okay. Motion made by Councilmember Murphy,
Second.
second by Councilmember Kadesh. Can I, all in favor signify by saying aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Anyone who would like to speak, please step up and state your name and the area of town you live in.
Gary Martinson. Just a nice, simple thing. Last meeting got a little bit heated, and I probably wasn't as good a citizen as I could have been, and I just want to apologize.
Anyone else have any comments? Okay, seeing that there are nobody, oh,
Sally Rinker, Vernon?
I received a copy of a police report. Brian, this is for you, and I'm just curious, and I'd like to ask. There was an article in the Herald on January 16th regarding confusion at the council meeting, and I wouldn't have known if it wasn't for the coverage in this article and the expert reporting by Mr. Jennings, who went and pursued an accompanying police report to this story. And I have a question. Okay, in this article, you claim that you pushed the panic button by mistake. Okay. And then later on, you went and put in a police report that you pushed it due to my disrupting the meeting.
I'm going to explain.
I would like some clarification.
Okay, sure. What had happened is that you were speaking out of turn like you normally do.
No, I don't know.
And well, you want me to finish, or you
I'd
want
like you to spare us the snide remarks.
Okay, I have no other comments at this point. You're not going to let me finish, I'm not going to talk about it.
Well, can you speak without
No.
being snide? I guess not. Well, that's the problem.
No, I can't, not to you.
Obviously, thank you. So I'll just continue anyway.
Thank you for your comments.
And I'm not done.
No, I'm sure you're not.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Because apparently you're having a problem with addressing this for me. And I'd like to know how a situation morphs from being a mistake to Sally Rinker's fault. And I'm sure you would hang your hat on any excuse to not answer that.
I tried to answer it, you won't allow
No, you
it, so.
didn't. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. And you won't answer it. You won't answer it for me.
Nope.
You won't answer it for the public. Maybe you'll answer it to a
You're
judge.
the only one that seems to be questioning about it,
Maybe you'll
so
answer it to a judge.
go right ahead. Yes.
Hi, Barbara Giuseppa, Vernon resident. I have a question because I'm slightly confused, or maybe I should say a lot confused. There is a group of residents collecting signatures for a petition which I believe is against the allocation of funds towards a office of mayor. And not knowing exactly how the law works, I feel obligated to ask, why is it allowed for them to make comments which are non-true or maybe confusing by posting 133% raise by not using any type of solid evidence with at the time when they're requesting the signatures? Is there, that mean, I feel as a resident of Vernon Township that I should be given more information by that group of people. And you gentlemen, as a counsel with Mr. Kelly as the attorney, I think you should protect me as a resident from false informations. And that's not being done. That means I went to the meeting, I know there is a resolution that was voted on. I think that that group of people should present public with the resolution. If they asking for a vote, to my opinion, they should give also the facts. They should approach public saying, this is the resolution, please read, and that's what mayor did, and now make a choice. So, you know, that's the only thing, if somebody could comment on this situation.
People have the right to say what they want to say.
But is that legal?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Gary, Vernon. You all know I was out getting petitions last couple of weeks. And it's very interesting. Since when is this town run on fear? Absolute fear. People say to me, oh, I couldn't do that. My husband would lose his job. I can't sign that because they'll burn my house. They'll harass my kids at school. What kind of town is this? Is that the way a town government should be run?
Are you accusing the government of doing this?
The people that are running this
Are you
town.
accusing the government of doing this?
I'm saying, this is what I heard people telling me. And it doesn't sound
Mr.
good,
Geary.
my friend.
Mr. Geary,
It doesn't sound good at all. Especially the comments that came at the last part of the last meeting.
anybody else would like to say a few words?
Sandy Holmes, Vernon. I just want to just bring to your attention the intersection by Samus Road and 94 where the snow tubing park is. I think it's a dangerous area. I know it's a county road. However, 2 weekends ago, I almost saw a family of 5 get plowed down. It's very dark there. People make their right-hand turn, and they don't see the people crossing, and generally it's groups of people because it's families. So this was a mother and father and 3 kids, and they almost got killed. So I just want to bring it to your attention that maybe something could be done, better lighting, crossing, speak to Mountain Creek to make sure people don't cross in that area.
Sandy, just so I understand, crossing from the parking lot across Sand Hill or across 94?
It's across 94 and that White House that sits on the corner, or their little
Stewart House.
work area, and then there's that White House right there. It's
They were
very
trying to
dark.
cross over 94.
Yeah, they don't wait for the bus, I guess. And this one was very scary. It was a close, near miss. So just want to bring it to your attention.
If I may respond, the town actually was approached by Mountain Creek asking for permission for a crosswalk there. It was denied. It was denied also by the planning board. We referred it also to the state DOT. It was denied there. That's one of the reasons why the buses are being run. Obviously, we need to see if there's something else that can be done to keep people from wandering across. It is dangerous.
Yeah, I know you can't prevent somebody from walking on the side of the road, but it's generally groups, which makes it more of a hazard.
I understand.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anybody else?
Hi, Lynn.
Len Colosi at Great Gorge Village. Actually, I agree with that woman. That is a dangerous area over there, and kids cross there all the time, and they really shouldn't be. To get back to the mayor and the increase in salary, I've heard lots of reasons why the mayor should get a salary increase. And just to go through a couple of them, and some of them have been said by the council people here. I've heard that he works many hours and he's always here. That's great, but again, Mr. Mayor, I don't know what you're doing here so long. You're probably doing a lot of stuff, but listen, my daughter Kathy is a hunter. She goes out there all the time, up in her tree stand, okay? Spends hours and hours in this tree stand. It doesn't make her a good hunter, though, okay? So I don't know if there's a lack of home life, a lack of hobbies, nothing else to do, but whatever it is, spending hours at the job is not a metric for an increase in compensation. Let's give another one. He attends lots of meetings and functions. Maybe. I guess he does. Although Mr. Mayor hasn't been to an MUA meeting in about 20 months. He keeps on missing those. He makes a lot of decisions. So are they saying they should compensate him based on the number of decisions he makes, the critical decisions that he makes? Does he want to make less decisions? I don't understand that one at all. Did he not know there were decisions involved in being a mayor? He's a CEO. Okay, CEO of what? The dollar store down the street, that owner's a CEO. Or is he a CEO like ExxonMobil's CEO? Or Ford? I don't know what that means either. Okay, I don't think the comparison is correct. You got to quantify it a little bit more than that. He's done a lot of good for the town. He has done some things that are good. He also has some things that are not so good. And I guess that's dependent on who you ask. I thought the ultimate poll of whether a mayor is good is election. But here we have something different. This is kind of a midstream thing where 3 councilmen have decided that for us. You 3, Mr. Lynch, Mr. Rizzuto, and Mr. Wetzel, think he's done a good job. And you've heard it from, I guess, some of your people that come in here and talk to you. Well, I don't know how many people from Great Gorge Village you're going to hear that from. I don't know how many small business owners in the town center you're going to hear that from. I know you'll hear it from Andy Mulvihill. I'm sure you'll hear it from Bruce Zaretsky, and I'm sure you're going to hear it from Mr. Murata's neighbors, but in the places that I mentioned, you won't. The ultimate test of that, of course, is the election. We kind of circumventing that by doing this. He's lowered the salary of the business administrator, so it doesn't cost taxpayers a dime. Okay, so you want to keep that ratio going? Let's sign a 5-year contract. So between the both of them, 70 and 60, that would be 130,000. Let's sign it over for 5 years and keep that ratio going. You guys won't do that because you know when Mr. Zuckerman leaves, you won't be able to fill his position for that money. And you're going to have to come back here to this chamber and say, we can't attract the applicants. And who's going to pay for that? We are. That argument doesn't wash. We need a higher salary to attract the right people. Well, you think he's good and attracted him? What more do I need to say? Other town mayors make more. Some do, some don't. It all depends. I don't think the compensation of a mayor is a primary reason to attract a person. I think it should be their love of civil service and their call of duty to serving the people of that town. Just like you. You guys say he's the lowest compensated person here. No, no, no. You guys are. Not him. You know, if it came down to raising your compensation, I don't think I have a problem with it. I wouldn't do it midstream, just like I wouldn't do the mayor's, but I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Mr. Closey, your 5 minutes is up. Can you
Thank you.
please wrap it up? Anyone else like to speak? Anyone else like to speak?
Motion, we close the meeting.
Please make have a motion to close the meeting to public comments. Motion made by Councilmember Rizzuto. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Kadesh. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, mayor's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. As we are required by our administrative code, each year at this time, the mayor is deigned to present to the council the state of the township, and I look forward to doing that. I want to start this evening's presentation by telling you the finances of Vernon Township are in excellent shape. As a matter of fact, our most recent audit report showed that there were 2 suggestions for modification needed in the manner in which we did things, which was down from 22 that were suggested in the 2010 audit. That means that our people are doing something right, and that means that we take that audit and we work with it and we improve in the manner in which the auditors suggest be done. Our cash fund surplus as of December 31st for Vernon Township is $3.3 million. It was under $1 million at the beginning of 2011. And that has happened and allowed us then to apply $1 million against the taxes for Vernon Township residents for property tax, local property tax purposes. The appropriations for each of our 10 departments are down in 2014 from 2013. And yes, I know that the information and budget drafts that were presented to you indicated that there was an increase, there would be an increase in total appropriations. I think it's important to point out to the public as well as to the council that those are generated by things that have absolutely nothing to do with the actual running of various departments in the township, but rather are caused by things such as Obamacare, which added $90,000 in federal tax to our health insurance plan, so that we, in fact, instead of having a decrease in that premium as was anticipated, have a $78,000 or $82,000 increase. In addition, last year we started with the idea of a sinking fund, using the part of the part of the cash fund surplus to be set aside to address the increase in interest that will be generated by the permanent bonds of the township that were in place when we got here. We plan to do that again in the 2014 budget, so that at the end of this year, there'll be $300,000 in that fund, and it will help to stabilize the tax rate in Vernon Township. Our debt is being managed for the first time in more than a decade, as opposed to the debt managing us. And what I mean by that is that our new CFO, upon my request, has done a projection of the actual cost on a yearly basis from now until the year 2025. And in fact, including the information that was presented to you tonight in the capital budget, and in fact, anticipating the need to do some capital, some bonding to bring water to the town center, we will maintain roughly a payment of $2.1 million per year to handle our debt, and that will stay the same over the next 10 years, give or take $100,000. That's certainly within the purview of this township to handle without having a significant impact on the taxes that our people pay for local purposes. And while I'm on that subject, I think it's important to point out that for the last 2 years, taxes for local purposes have gone down. And I've had people come up to me and say, well, that's just not true. Overall taxes haven't gone down. As a matter of fact, in this township, out of every dollar that we collect, 60 cents goes for education, 20 cents goes for the county purposes, 18 cents goes to run the township, and another 2 cents has to be set aside called Reserve for Uncollected Taxes. And what that is for is to be sure that we have enough money in our budget to see to it that the school and the county get 100% of their budget, whether we collect it or not. In essence, the state law places upon the local government the responsibility to see that the school and the county get 100% of the funding that they adopt. And if it just so happens that Vernon doesn't have a good collection in taxes in a given year, we have to make that up out of the local budget. It's the way the law is. At present, as we talk this evening, there are 119 employees working in Vernon Township. In December of 2010, there were 153 employees working in Vernon Township. There has not been a layoff. There has not been a mass exodus, but rather a planned analysis of the attrition that has occurred due to retirements, due to people who have been promoted, for example, to other towns. Our former business administrator, Jerry Jimes, is now the manager in Scotch Plains. Our former purchasing agent is now the CFO for Randolph Township. That speaks to the kind of job and the kind of training and the kind of experience that they had in Vernon Township. And when they left us, as others did through either retirement or seeking jobs elsewhere, we used the funds available to, in fact, distribute and to, in fact, hire individuals at a lower rate. Now, there's no question that we are undermanned in the police department, and I've addressed that throughout 2013, and we're taking steps to address it. One of the unspoken things that we have not talked about is the undermanning of our DPW. Earlier this evening, I was asked by this council, do we have the wherewithal to handle the snowstorms? The fact of the matter is, as I stand before you this evening, there are five of our 24 plowing trucks that are out of commission, 2 of which are permanent. You all know that we bonded for one and ordered it back in late August of this year. We're still waiting for delivery, and there's another on the budget for 2014. And so the fact of the matter is, we're in need of some equipment in the DPW, we're in need of some personnel. One of the shared services that we provide is to the Vernon Township MUA. And what started out as apparently going to be a roughly 16 hours of man-hours of work per week by 2 of our DPW employees ends up being a whole lot more than that. As a matter of fact, close to full-time, maintaining the pump stations, maintaining the lift stations, and doing the other things that are attendant to maintaining the sewer system. Now, that being the case, we are going to look in 2014 to revisit the contract in terms of labor for the MUA and to charge them for the actual hours that our people put in maintaining the sewer, and use that money to, in fact, hire some additional people into the road department. I think it's clear from the budget that has been presented to you that the things that have been achieved over the last 2 years, and we will continue to achieve in 2014, have been done without raising property taxes for local purposes, and that there has not been one layoff, but rather we have achieved the savings through normal attrition, applying good business principles. In the area of grants, we had a very successful year in 2013. As a matter of fact, we were the recipient of 6 grants that we pursued, and they included the Drive Sober Grant, the Clean Communities Grant, the Municipal Alliance Grant, the State Body Armor Grant, the Firefighters Assistance Grants, which you would recognize as the money from FEMA to improve our radio communication system, and the No Net Loss Forestry Grant from the Department of Forestry, the New Jersey DEP. Those 6 grants brought in $458,105.12 in revenue to Vernon Township, money that would have had to be expended or might have been expended depending on how the council voted. In addition, we have been approved for a $40,000 grant from the New Jersey Highlands Council. That grant is to do a feasibility study to see the feasibility of creating a transfer of development rights program for in and for Vernon Township. Anyone who knows what the Highlands act did knows that it stole the development value of large landowners throughout the Highlands region. And many of our farm families and many of our large landholders have in fact been very vociferous about the occurrence of that, and obviously the Highlands Council acknowledges it because they are seeking receiving districts for development rights. And so when I saw that, we made application. And the executive director and his staff came here to Vernon, and we made a presentation. And that presentation was that Vernon Township could be a pilot for the entire state. We have the infrastructure, and we have the ability, so that if someone comes to Vernon and wants to develop in the town center where the density may be 4 retail units, but really wants to have 6, they can go up to Mr. Kadish's farm or someone else's farm and buy the development rights from him in the free marketplace and increase the density. Now, there's a lot of things that have to be worked out, but for the first time, someone has addressed the issue of the stolen developmental value of our large landholders by the state of New Jersey. And we're going to move forward with it in 2014, and it's being funded by the Highlands Council. I also am happy to tell you that today, late this afternoon, I was notified by the Department of Forestry that our initial no net loss grant in terms of reforestation of Vernon Township, which was in the amount of $30,642, has for 2014 been increased to $354,960. Now, it's important for you all to understand, okay, that none of that is tax money. It is money that was taken, or I should say, fined of the Tennessee Gas Company for not living up to what they were supposed to do in Vernon Township by way of reforestation. And so I can tell you that this grant, which will actually have a lifespan of almost 4 years, will allow us to replant well in excess of 1,200 trees in Vernon Township. You'll be hearing more about that as we go through the year. As you all know, Vernon's Recycling Center was recognized as the best in New Jersey in 2012. In 2013, we continued that success, contributing $109,000 of revenue to the township coffers. That allowed the purchase of a commercial paper shredder, which will be available to residents early in March. It actually is on site at the present time. That shredder was a purchase of $11,000, and it will be available in our recycling center for residents who want to see to it that their records are in fact shredded and that they're safe from any kinds of identity theft or the like. Capital projects. 2013 was a big year. As a matter of fact, we completed the intersection of Maple Grange and Route 517. And when I say completed, yes, the construction was completed, but in addition, also we completed the condemnation, the eminent domain that was required for some of the rights-of-way along Lonsbury Hollow Road. And that has all been finished, and the intersection has been I think, tremendous asset to our safety. The drainage projects in the Baldwin Mott Drive area of Vernon behind the Dairy Queen were completed early in 2013, and near the end of the middle of 2013, the northern part of Vernon Valley Lake drainage project was completed. Those 3 projects I just mentioned totaled well in excess of $2 million. The Maple Grange 517 intersection was a joint project with the County of Sussex. It included a $200,000 grant from the state of New Jersey, but the other 2, the drainage projects, we did ourselves, and again, without raising taxes. Also in 2013, there are new basketball courts, a new children's playground that have been added to Maple Grange Park, and the exercise path, the stations along the walking path, were completed. The DPW building's electric system was repaired, the generator was repaired, and we started the roof repair, which will be concluded as soon as this winter weather goes away. We created and funded a 6-year plan in 2013. We began it to, in fact, repair, and restore our secondary and tertiary streets, completing the evergreen section of the Sussex Hills, the Pleasant Valley Lake, and the Cliffwood Lakes in 2013. That plan is available for inspection by the public at any time, and as I said, for the first time in almost a decade, Vernon Township not only has a plan, we have funded it and we have put it into effect. We also, in 2013, submitted for the 2014-15 cycle a DOT grant, New Jersey DOT grant, for Phase 1 repair to Breakneck Road, and also for the Lake Wallkill Road. And in addition to the DOT grant that we applied for, we have also recently applied to the Federal Wildlife Preserve, because we became aware that the fact that Lake Wallkill Road being adjacent to that wildlife reserve qualified it for federal funding to repair the road. And so it is our hope and our intent that we'll succeed. I will obviously be keeping you apprised of those applications as they come to fruition or not. All of you are aware that near the end of October of 2013, Police Chief Roy Wary retired. And that retirement led to a complete reorganization of the command staff of the Vernon Township Police Department. And as it stands now, our chief is Randy Mills, former Lieutenant Randy Mills. Our captain is former Lieutenant Steve Moran. Our lieutenants are former Sergeant Brian Jernick and former Sergeant Dan Young, and they form the core of what I think is a very, very excellent management team for the Vernon Township Police. We are presently awaiting the certification of the civil service list for sergeants. We have several sergeants' positions that need to be filled, and we have actually been waiting almost a year and a half. Lord knows when we'll see it, but when we do, we'll be coming forward with that information for you and for the public. During 2013, our police department achieved some firsts. We appointed the first African-American patrolman in the history of this township. We also appointed the first Hispanic patrolman in the history of this township, and recently appointed a female patrol officer, the first in over a decade. We're proud of that because the demographics of this community are changing. And the fact of the matter is that the two officers that I mentioned are African-American, Brian Patterson, and our Hispanic, Manny Ramirez. Both are seasoned, experienced, former Patterson policemen who are, in fact, working diligently to make an impact on that scourge of heroin that is just sweeping the country and affecting Vernon Township. At present, all of our police cruisers are equipped with audio and video recording. When the red lights go on, the recording begins. And that's for the safety of our public as well as the safety of our patrolmen. I would share with you that at first blush, some of our patrolmen weren't too happy about it until they had situations in which there were complaints lodged against them by a motorist that had been stopped. But they went to the video, and lo and behold, the professionalism of our police department was upheld. In addition, one of our cruisers is now equipped with a plate reader. That plate reader is very, very valuable to us in many, many ways, because to be frank with you, with the 1 million visits that occurred to Vernon Township, somewhere in that 1 million are some folks that we wish weren't here. More importantly, that plate reader was funded by confiscated funds from drug dealers. It was not paid for by tax dollars, but rather by, and I'm sure this township is aware that there's a law that if you get caught and convicted of drug dealing or possession or whatever, you forfeit your assets. And that plate reader was bought out of those assets. We continued the planned acquisition of police cruisers. We made a decision in 2012 that the right way for us to go was to, in fact, begin to purchase the new Ford all-wheel drive Interceptors, which were pursuit rated. And I would tell you that from the feedback from our police officers, it was a good decision. In 2013, we bought two in 2012, 2 in 2013. We intend to buy 2 in 2014. The objective is to have 10 of them. And while we've been doing that, if you take notice by looking out in the back parking lot, many of the old, run-down, all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive Dodges and Chevys that had holes in the floor and were approaching 200,000 miles are gone. They were sold at auction, electronic auction. The money was in fact returned to the coffers of the township and is being used for current purposes. We will end up with 10 all-wheel drive Ford Interceptor cruisers, and that will, now that we've gotten into the rotation, we will be able to handle it within the budget without having a negative impact at some point in the future. Also in 2013, Vernon Township made a decision to withdraw from the county dispatch and their software that had been provided by the Sheriff's Department, known as the Spillman software. The reasons for it were multi. We visited them during the year, but I would just simply tell you that by replacing that software with the LawSoft and InfoCop package that we now have in our dispatch center and in our police cars, our productivity has been measurably better. Better in terms of tickets written, better in terms of time for reports to be filed, better in time of recovering information from our police records when necessary. It was an investment that I believe was a wise investment and will continue to pay dividends to Vernon Township for many, many years to come. Also in 2013, we purchased and put into service a brand new tractor with mower on board and purchased and put a brand new mower on the old tractor, so that now we have 2 tractors available for the maintenance of roadside, the mowing of weeds and the like, which was always a very big bugaboo. We also were able to provide to the Vernon Ambulance Squad a brand new 4-wheel drive ambulance. And actually, we got it at a tremendous savings because it was available from a town that had ordered it and in fact did not take delivery of it. That ambulance is in service. The ambulance that it's replacing will be sold at auction, electronic auction, as we've done with other surplus equipment. As I already mentioned, we also ordered a new international dump truck. We're still awaiting the delivery of it. We replaced 3 copiers in the municipal center, and because the Vernon Fire Company was in receipt late in 2012 of 2 new fire trucks, a fire engine and a rescue truck, the 1993 fire engine pumper that was housed in the Vernon house was put up for electronic auction, and the highest bid was $5,000. As you will recall, I came to the council and asked your permission to make a donation of that to the Sussex County Fire Training Academy, which we have done. That fire truck, and by the way, the training academy did not have a pumper to train firemen on up until then. The one they had, I'm told, was still being pulled by a horse and buggy. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's what Councilman was told me. But at any rate, that pumper now serves all of the firemen in their training in Sussex County. And there's a very, very nice painting or signage on that pumper acknowledging that it was a donation from the people of Vernon Township to the people of Sussex County, something I think that we can be very proud of. Additionally, as you well know, when we all came into office, there was a long-standing lawsuit between the Attorney General representing the New Jersey DEP and Vernon Township concerning the Lake Conway Dam. And Municipal Counsel Kevin Kelly undertook a search to determine who owned that dam. And to cut to the quick of it, it became clear after looking through the records of Lake Conway and the records of the township and what we were able to turn up in our search, that Vernon Township always owned that dam from day one. It was built by the Army Corps of Engineers, and it was built with the intent of flood control, and it was in fact deeded to Vernon Township upon completion. And so the argument that went on back and forth for all that time about who did it belong to actually was a red herring kind of argument, and led to the Attorney General filing suit against Vernon. Thank you to Mr. Kelly for resolving that situation, and thank you for the job that you did. What could have been thousands of dollars ended up being a $5,000 fine or agreement of settlement, and at the same time, we are in compliance already, thanks to the effort of Corey Stoner, our township engineer. There will be other things that need to be done to the dam as we go forward, but it certainly will not be the $80,000 that we had anticipated in previous budgets. Also in 2013, something happened that I'm sure will be a tremendous benefit to this community in the future. This council saw fit to grant non-exclusive rights to co-locate fiber optic telecommunication equipment and facilities in the rights-of-way of this township. The future of our world is going to be digital. We all know that. It's already come to that for all intents and purposes. And fiber optics are what make it happen. There are some thought that with the advent of fiber optics in Vernon Township, the potential for developing a second industry to the resort recreation industry with its basis in computing, cloud computing, IT, biotech, small to medium companies might very well fit nicely in Vernon Township, and at the same time we'll be able to do it when the fiber optics are operational. So that's a long-term benefit, but you gentlemen were wise enough to see the value of it, and as we move forward, I'm sure that we will see some benefit from it. In addition, we continue to sell off land that has been acquired through in-rem foreclosures. As you will recall, in July of 2011, we had just over 400 parcels of land that Vernon Township held the tax certificates on. Now, what's interesting about that is, as long as we held the tax certificates, we were responsible for paying the school and the county taxes on that property, even though we weren't collecting anything. That number ran to excess of $1 million a year. As we have gone through the in-rem foreclosures and put that property back onto the tax rolls, I don't want to mislead you, we've foreclosed on 80 of the 40 parcels. We've been able to sell about 15 of them at this point in time. But every time we do that, those 15 parcels go back on the tax roll, and we don't have to take money from our local budget to pay the school and the county. Ultimately, as some of the larger parcels that we hold tax certificates on are foreclosed on, I know from conversations through the Land Conservancy that the federal and the state government are very interested in purchasing them. We'll have more to tell you about that as those things move forward. Also in 2013, this council saw fit to adopt a new zoning ordinance. That zoning ordinance, in fact, added design standards for the C2 zones in Vernon and the town center, making the 5 mini zones that were once the town center go away, and making it much easier for business people who are interested in locating in our town center to achieve that. Quite a list of accomplishments for the year, one that you and I believe, can be proud of on behalf of Vernon Township. 2014, let's look to the future, because we have some really heavy lifting to do this year, gentlemen. There's no question about it. I will be recommending a revisit to the Township Administrative Code. There are many situations in there that I think need to be revisited and need to be discussed and re-looked at. I also would remind you that we had a presentation late in 2014 from the Mountain Creek Corporation concerning their request for a pilot bond program, and the work has begun in-house on that, and I'm sure that we will be looking at making a decision about that in 2014. I also will be bringing forward a plan to bring water to every place that there is sewer in Vernon Township. One of the, probably the most important missing link in the development of our town center is the lack of central water. Because for commercial buildings, there are requirements for sprinklers and things of the like, fire hydrants. Without central water, many of the corporations that expressed interest in buying or locating there have put their plans on hold until that could be resolved. Now, we tried first to put together a consortium, if you will, of business people who would raise the funds to allow United Water to bring their water system up to specification and have enough water to provide water wherever there's sewer. That did not happen. Today, a meeting was held in this room between my staff, our attorneys, our engineer, and the people from United Water. I am requesting now that in the month of March, the second meeting in March, that this council make room on your agenda to hear the presentation as to what is planned and what it will cost and who will fund it. It will require some bonding on the part of Vernon Township, but bonding that will be repaid by the United Water. Without getting into too much detail, I just want to give you a heads up that it's coming, it's important, and here's the real benefit that I see. I know that some of the people, not all of the people, but some of the people in the Great Gorge Village feel that the EDU system was unfair, and I understand it. I know that our MUA worked through that problem and have tried to address it, and I believe that they have, as they have with the business people in the town center. But the real bugaboo is the EDU system, because the Vernon MUA was faced with one of three decisions. The first one would have been to have two sewer districts, one for the existing sewer customers, one for the town center. That approach was tried in Sparta, and I would just tell you that at the present time, the problems that are attendant to it have become unmanageable, and our MUA decided that that was not a wise way to go. The second way was to require everyone that was going to be on the sewer to install a sewer meter, much like the water meter. My understanding is that that would have been somewhere around $2,500 for the meter and another $2,500 to install it. And so it would have saddled every person on the sewer system with a $5,000 bill in addition to their sewer rates. That didn't seem to be palatable either. And so the EDU was selected because that's the only other alternative that was available under state statute. With the advent of water, everywhere where there's sewer, everyone will have metered input of water. And as part of the contract with United Water, that will be provided to Vernon Township. And finally, everyone will be billed on usage. It's a very important step in putting to bed some of the complaints, many of the complaints, as well as enhancing our ability to continue to see that Vernon develops its commercial area. We've talked many, many times in meetings here and all over this township. The days of residential building for all intents and purposes are over in Vernon. If we are going to meet our needs for revenue in the future, it must come from a successful development of a commercial base. It must come from a successful development of a commercial base. And I do believe that we are taking the proper steps to do that. I talked about the TDR study. I talked about the manpower needs. Most important thing that I see for 2014 is to keep our taxes stable. Now, I know that the budget draft that I presented to you included a small tax increase. Doesn't have to be that way. You gentlemen and ladies had the opportunity to impact on it. And to be frank with you, looking at the cash surplus fund that we now have, and I only became aware of the exact number, as a matter of fact, this afternoon. I was under the impression it was somewhere in the high 2 millions. 3.3 million, we have the ability to see to it that the taxes stay flat for 2014. Maybe dip a little, but nonetheless, we have maintained a stable tax rate. And if there's anything that will attract commercial enterprises to a community, it's one with a stable tax rate. I thank you for your cooperation. I thank you for the opportunity to work with you, and I look forward to a very successful year in 2014.
Anything else, Mr. Mayor?
Nope, that's it.
Okay.
Wasn't that enough?
Thank you very much. Thank you for your due diligence, too. At this point, I'd like to move on to the consent agenda. Resolution 14-35 is the residency requirement for business administrator. This is to waive the residency requirement for Business Administrator Bill Zuckerman. Resolution 14-36 is a volunteer fire department junior membership. This is to approve Christopher George Ross as a junior member of the McAfee Fire Department. 14-37 is an authorizing application for a 2014 distracted driving crackdown grant. The Vernon Police Department wishes to apply for funding for this grant, which consists of an enforcement overtime campaign from April 1st through April 21st, 2014. Resolution 14-38, authorizing the award of a contract to VS Land Data Incorporated. This is to approve professional services for updating the tax and zoning maps for the term January 1st, 2014 through December 31st, 2014. 14-39, authorizing the award of contract to Holzhauer and Holenstein LLC. This is to approve professional services for tax appeal, appraisal, and consulting services for the term January 1st, 2014 through December 31st, 2014. Resolution 14-40 is a fund balance transfer. This is to transfer some appropriations for legal and engineering fees for $15,000. May I have a motion on the consent agenda, please?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Councilmember Rizzuto. Can I have a second?
Excuse me, Brian, if I want to separate something out,
Okay.
ask you now?
Which one?
Actually, the residency requirement.
Okay.
Want to speak about that?
Okay.
my motion.
Okay, the motion is to move on to the consent of 14-36 through 14-40. Can I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Councilmember Wetzel. Any questions on 14-36 through 14-40? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Davis?
Yes.
Councilmember Murphy?
Yes.
Councilmember Rizzuto?
Yes.
Councilmember Wetzel?
Yes.
Council President Lynch?
Yes, except for 14-36, which I must abstain. Okay, can I have a motion on 14-35?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Councilmember Rizzuto. Can I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Councilmember Wetzel. Discussion?
I have. I guess what one of the questions I have, or just comments that I have, is when the business administrator was originally appointed back at the reorg meeting, and I had questioned, items like, was he full-time, how many hours? And I was just pretty much told he was full-time. It turns out at one of our work sessions is when Mr. Zuckerman gave us a little background on himself and also said that he is working 4 days a week. One of the concerns I have is in the past, if the mayor's away, he's appointed the business administrator, the acting mayor. I find this to be, first of all, somebody working 4 days a week and not working in town to be an issue. Because that, if that's what we're doing, if that's the protocol that's been followed, I guess looking back now, we didn't have all of that information given to us at that time when he was appointed. It's a concern, because I certainly wouldn't want to see, and it's nothing against Mr. Zuckerman, but I certainly wouldn't want to see somebody being appointed interim mayor 4 days a week, not even living anywhere around here. And, I don't know if it's anything that anybody else has thought of, but that, like I said, it should have all been really presented to us at the same time. Should have been all up front.
Can you shed some light on that?
Sure can. First of all, Mr. Zuckerman is full-time, yes, 4 days a week, 9 hours a day. Second of all, if the time comes when he is appointed as acting mayor in my absence, he will be present. It's as simple as that. And that happens to be an administrative decision.
Well, whether it is or it isn't, it's just not right. And I don't believe that Mr. Zuckerman said he was working, I think including the meetings, he said that including meetings, he was working 35 hours a week.
In excess of 35.
Oh. Including meetings. But it's still, I'm a resident of the town, and like I said, for you to just say now, okay, if you're absent, then he'll be here, That's all I have to say about that.
Anyone else? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Davis?
Yes.
Councilmember Murphy?
No.
Councilmember Rizzuto?
Yes.
Councilmember Wetzel?
Yes.
Council President Lynch?
Yes. At this point, I'm going to read the introduction of ordinance 14-02. Ordinance of the Township of Vernon, County of Sussex, State of New Jersey, authorizing the purchase of various equipment and repairs in, by, and for the township pursuant to NJSA 56-1, and at such sum so appropriated shall be raised from the capital improvement fund of the township. The sum of $20,000 is appropriated to pay the cost of the improvements and acquisitions of e-ticket software and hardware for 8 police cars. Can I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Councilmember Wetzel. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Rizzuto. Any discussion? After learning about this today, this is going to enable the police department to move forward with enforcement of the laws in the Township of Vernon and be able to find out critical information on vehicles that are being stopped and being ticketed for violations in Vernon Township at a quicker rate than it would be if they called the police desk, if I'm not mistaken. They will be able to have this on board in the police car, and it won't be waiting for the police desk to give them the information.
It'll be instantaneously, Mr. President. We actually have 2 cars with e-ticket functioning in them. We've had them functioning now for close to 4 months. The productivity in terms of secondary tickets has jumped. You will recall that under the Spillman system, it took 13 clicks of the computer to find out if a driver's license was suspended or if a driver's registration was suspended or past due. With the system that we now have and the e-ticket, the police officer swipes that driver's license, the computer immediately populates with all of the information, and if there's a warrant of any sort, or if there's any kind of a violation, or if there's a registration or a driver's license being suspended, it immediately is on the screen, and all the officer has to do is hit a button. Out comes the ticket. As soon as that ticket is printed, it's electronically communicated to the judge and to the court administrator. There's no more fooling around with tickets, because once that button is pushed, it's in the court administrator's office, and it will be adjudicated. This $20,000 will allow us the other 8, so that all 10 of our patrol cruisers will have e-ticket on board.
Explain that statement. Is this 20,000 for just one car or 8
No,
cars?
8 cars.
8.
Why does it say a down payment?
Because the e-ticket system charges us 6 cents per ticket. It's a software package. It's a hardware and software package. And so each time that we write a ticket, I think it's, if my memory serves me right, it's 6 cents. You got that in front of you?
Yeah. It's actually, under 2,000 tickets, it's $3 and change.
Okay.
Over 2,000 tickets, it's $2 and change.
Okay.
The 20,000 gets you the hardware and software for the 8 police cars.
But then...
We actually own it.
It's an incorrect phrase. Down payment implies that that's the initial payment.
That it is the initial payment
I think this
plus the,
ordinance should reflect that there will be per-ticket charges and not necessarily
Not funded
describe
out of
this
the
as a
ordinance.
down payment. Down payments are usually 10% of the total cost.
No. They're not funded, the tickets are
5%
not
or
funded out of the ordinance.
Tickets are not funded out of the
You
ordinance.
understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but it happens to be wrong.
It just implies that there's a much larger payment to be made in the future.
the only other payment would be the per-ticket payment to e-ticket.
Well, this is the introduction to an ordinance. I guess we have 2 weeks to figure out whether my question is correct or not.
Okay?
Mr. President, if I may.
Sure.
You cannot capitalize operating expenses. The cost per ticket is an operating expense. That's why it does not belong in this ordinance. This ordinance is designed to acquire materials or properties that have a life of at least 5 years, and we are not allowed to capitalize operating expenses. To confuse the two, I think, is a mistake.
No, not confusing. I just think that the phrase down payment is an incorrect phrase for this situation.
That's fine.
I'm just kind of curious where it came from. It's almost like we're signing a mortgage or something. Like I said, you got 2 weeks.
Any other comments?
Nope.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Davis?
Yes?
Councilmember Murphy?
Yes.
Councilmember Rizzuto? Yes. Councilmember Wetzel? Yes. Council President Lynch?
Yes. At this point, Mayor put forth a name for the Environmental Commission
I certainly have.
to appoint.
Kathy McCartney is with us this evening. Kathy has offered to, in fact, accept the nomination to the Environmental Commission. As you know, we lost one of our members, Tracy Baldwin, this year. Personal situation prevented her from continuing to serve. You have in your packet Ms. McCartney's application. She certainly is an environmentalist by every standard that I could possibly ascertain, and I think that she'll be an asset to the board. So I would appreciate your approving my appointment.
Can I have a motion?
So move.
Motion made by Councilmember Kadesh. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Wetzel. Any discussion?
Glad to see we brought a frog counter to Vernon. That to me is important.
She's been assigned your farm to start.
Well, I'm glad I've protected some of the tree toads that
There you go.
I have
That's
over there.
great.
Welcome. Please stand up.
Kathy?
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Davis?
Yes.
Councilmember Murphy?
Yes.
Councilmember Rizzuto?
Yes.
Councilmember Wetzel?
Yes.
Council President Lynch?
Yes. Good luck.
Kathy, could I ask you what your degree is in?
Art,
What area?
fine arts.
Yes, but Painting, okay.
Okay, my second appointment this evening is a reappointment of Mrs. Barbara Horzeppa for a 5-year term on the Municipal Utilities Authority. Barbara has served from the inception of the Municipal Utilities Authority and has agreed to accept a reappointment. I would appreciate your support.
Can I have a motion, please?
I'd like to make that motion.
Motion made by Councilmember Rizzuto. Can I have a second?
I'll second
Second by Councilmember Wetzel. Any comments?
I appreciate her service to the community in such a, can be cantankerous situation.
Thank you, Barbara, for your service so far, and I have nothing else. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Fish.
Yes.
Councilmember Murphy.
Yes.
Councilmember Rizzuto.
Yes.
Councilmember Wetzel.
Yes.
Council President Lynch.
Yes. Good luck, Barbara. At this point, council comments. Councilmember Murphy?
Or you'd like me to go first?
Yes.
I was talking about the reorg meeting before. I'd like to talk about it again. Something I had mentioned to Mr. Kelly was when we were voting on the Resolution 14-12, authorizing the award of contracts for professional services. One of the items that I had questioned, and didn't see it at that time, but mentioned it since then, is litigation for all attorneys, $60,000. And of course, my comment to Mr. Kelly was, I don't feel like I voted on that, because it's a line that just falls underneath all the list of the attorney appointments, where it has a special attorney and a labor attorney. And then there's this little line just sitting there, litigation for all attorneys, $60,000. And, I just wanted to really bring that to everybody's attention, because it's just something that sits there, just gets shoved into this, into the funds, and it's just there to use. So if there's any litigation, of course, I get this impression that it's just, if there's litigation, it never has to come back to the council. It's just, there's money there, and it just gets used. And quite frankly, it's a lot of money, and I noticed when I went back to look at some of the older budgets, it was raised, I believe, last year in the 2013 budget, is when it was originally, I think, 10,000 was allocated, and then it was actually raised to 60. I know in the prior year before that, there was more money expended for litigation, but to me, I just think that to me is, again, wrong, that it's in there like that. It's nothing that ever comes to light. It just gets used. And again, I still don't feel like we voted on that, because we voted on on all the fees for everybody that they were collecting, or that they were being expended, but that's not something we voted on. Like I said, it's sat there all on its own. It doesn't fit under anything. It says all attorneys, doesn't specify what attorneys. And as far as I'm concerned, we didn't pass that. And I wanted to, I have a question about the budget, and I know that we've been working on the budget process, and within the 2012 and 2013, bonuses were paid out to employees. And I'm just wondering, in this budget, are there bonuses in here for this coming year, for 2014?
Depends on what you approve.
Is there, depends on what I approve,
What the council approves, absolutely.
but are there bonuses in here for employees?
There might be, there might not be. It all
I didn't
depends.
see anything that said bonuses.
There's never been anything that says bonuses.
Then how do bonuses get paid?
They get paid out of funds that are available for salary and wages.
Okay. For salary and wages? Okay, but it's not broken down as bonuses.
No?
Originally, when I went in and when the budget was coming out, I was asking for an itemized budget per department to be broken down. So when I asked that, first you told me that didn't exist. Then you told me I was overstepping my bounds.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
I never said that to you.
You said I was crossing over from the legislative to the administrative.
That's not stepping out of bounds. That's making a statement of what you were doing. Go ahead.
Yes, and you told me I was overstepping my bounds.
Wrong.
And then I said, well, I'd still like to see the breakdown that the departments are working with. And you told me, you even opened up the budget and looked to, like it was memberships. You said, oh, you mean you want to see what kind of magazines they're buying? And I said, yes. You said you'd see what you could find and get me. I've never received anything. But in the meantime, if there is money now that's expended for bonuses within the budget, I'd like to be able to see that. Because I sat there for an entire year, whatever, and listened to every time somebody questioned something, it was always from the council president, well, it was in the budget and the mayor can spend it. And, now I just would really like to know what's in the budget. And with that answer, now I could just tell you, it's not there. And if you're telling me it's in the salary and wages column, I'd like to see it broken out. I don't know if anybody else wants to see it broken out. Maybe everybody else wants to just turn a blind eye, but I'd like to see it broken out. Is that something anybody is concerned with on the council?
You can finish your statements.
Well, I guess not. Let's see. One of the other items I mentioned to Mr. Kelly was on the work session agendas. I questioned having work session agendas, and there's usually being a statement. On tonight's, it was not on there, but usually there's a statement that action will or may be taken. And my request is that if we're not having council present, that item should not be there. We should not be taking action at all at any type of work session if there's council not present. And that did happen at one of our last meetings when the attorney was not present and something came up, and now we had to wait to speak to the attorney. But I don't think any work session should be used to take action, especially, like I said, unless the attorney's present, where we could actually refer to him for any legal matters. And one of the last things that I believe Mr. Lynch already spoke to Angie about was fixing the website when we do have council meetings and we have executive sessions prior to that, because it'll state on the website that the meetings are starting at 6:30. Members of the public will show up at 6:30 just to find us going into executive session, and then the public session's really not starting till 7:30. And even if it's just one person showing up, it's not really fair to the public if they've been here, for the first time, showing up and having that happen. So hopefully that does get addressed too. So that's the end of my comments.
Okay. Dan?
Just have a correction. You can't use my farm as an example for the golf rights.
Dan.
Huh?
Farmer and
It's already,
Oh,
it's already
the
preserved.
development rights have been sold to the county
Yeah, I know, it's
a
already.
long time ago.
Yeah. I had forgotten
If
that.
they want to give me more money, fine.
I knew that you wouldn't argue about it. Forgive me, I had forgotten about your preservation, Dan.
Councilmember Rizzuto?
Huh?
I'm sorry, were you done, Dan?
Yes.
Go ahead, Pat.
First, I'd like to thank the mayor for a very thorough and detailed synopsis of what took place this year. I certainly think it speaks well of the direction of the township, and I look forward to working with you next year and seeing if we can't even make a better 2014. As regards to some of the comments that were made this evening, I'm perplexed. I don't think anybody in this council or in this government has ever taken the stance of, being sending out retribution because of the particular point of view. It's disconcerting, to say the least, to have that statement made, especially without any support. Anybody can come up here and make a statement like that, and it casts aspersions that are less than positive on the good people that work within this township. Anytime somebody says something like that and people believe it, leads people to believe that there are people willing to do that. I would just caution anybody making that statement, and I'd just like to reassure the people of the community that things like that don't occur. Thank you.
Councilmember Wetzel.
Yeah, I'd like to compliment the DPW for an excellent job in snow removal. I know the salt is there, it's down in Hoboken somewhere, it's just the problem of getting the salt up here, but it's on its way. I also want to compliment the mayor and staff for a very positive State of the Union presentation. And, you know, as Lincoln said, you can please some of the people all the time and all the people some of the time, but you're not going to please all the people all the time. And those who want to throw barbs from the audience at us because we can't answer you back the way we would like to, too bad. I'm glad we have $364,000 to buy trees, and hopefully the people along the dog park will get some of those 12-foot trees. And
They
hopefully
absolutely
they'll
will.
be big trees so that everybody will be happy.
The ones we planted were 10-footers.
10
Plant
footers.
some dogwoods.
They become 12 footers and they're not too long.
Yeah, I know.
We had to leave room because they spread.
Spread,
But
absolutely.
ultimately, there will be a screen there.
Yep.
But there will be more planted in that area.
Anything else?
That's it.
Well, get ready for another snowstorm, anybody. Motion to adjourn? Motion made by Councilmember Rizzuto, second by Councilmember Kadesh. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Night.